Hi guys, welcome to the Combate show, and today I'll be talking about Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker. I'm going to give you my analysis and my predictions, and who I think is going to win. So let's go through this notes that I just took, and I'll tell you who I think wins. Let's go! So before I predict who wins or who loses, I wanted to talk about the last 4 fights. So first let's start with Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier KO'd Justin Gaethje. What is Justin Gaethje? Justin Gaethje is the #1 contender for the title right now. So it was a big win for Dustin Poirier to knock out the current #1 contender. He had the KO win versus Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez was a former UFC champion who beat Rafael dos Anjos when he was champ, and also knocked out Justin Gaethje. Decision win versus Max Holloway. So I want to say one thing about his fight versus Max Holloway. In the first rounds, he was really destroying Max Holloway and putting pressure on him, which will be a big factor against Dan Hooker, and I'll explain why later. He had a submission loss to Khabib. This was his title fight, and I believe no one can beat Khabib right now, so I think that's understandable. Then we're going to go to the underdog, Dan Hooker, the Hangman. He lost to Barboza. He got destroyed by Barboza, but after that he came back and bounced back, and then he showed us that he's a contender for the championship. So he had a KO win versus James Vick. He had a decision win versus Ally Aquinta, and a decision win versus Paul Felder. And Paul Felder is a good fighter because he also beat Edson Barboza in UFC Abu Dhabi. Yeah. My prediction is that Dustin Poirier will beat Dan Hooker. The reason is I believe he's the second best lightweight in the world right now. Currently the second best lightweight in the UFC lightweight division. The reason for this is that he was in a 5-fight win streak before fighting Khabib. His last loss was in 2016 versus Michael Johnson, and after that he won 5 fights and was on a tear. He also beat Justin Gaethje, like I said before, and Justin Gaethje beats Tony Ferguson, who had a 12-fight win streak. So beating someone like that is not an easy thing to do for Dustin Poirier. Even though Dan Hooker beat big stars like Mark Diakiese, Gilbert Burns, and his last fight against Paul Felder, I don't believe he stands a chance against Dustin Poirier. The reason for this is that Dustin Poirier starts very aggressively, uses his heavy hands, and puts pressure on you in round 1. We saw this when Dustin Poirier fought Max Holloway. Even though the fight ended in a decision win for Dustin Poirier, he put lots of pressure and almost knocked him out in the first round. So I believe Dan Hooker cannot match Dustin Poirier's pressure in the beginning of the fight. And as my final prediction, I believe Dustin Poirier will knock out Dan Hooker in the second round, because Edson Barboza knocked him out in the third, but I think Poirier is going to be able to end it a little quicker than Edson Barboza. So thanks for watching, guys. Like, share, comment, and subscribe so we grow this channel and get better videos. Thank you for watching, and I hope you're safe. See you next time in the Combate Show.